Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of my Orc Shaman level 1 through 60 Let's Play series in the Season of Discovery, where today is going to be a little bit of a different and potentially interesting episode, because this is an episode that I've been wanting to do for a long time now, all the way back in my Human Mage Let's Play series, and I thought now would be a good time to do this, because I am still in Phase 3 of the Season of Discovery, and we are level 50, which is the current max level. And at the time of recording this video, we do not know the release date for Phase 4, so there's still going to be a little bit of time until Phase 4 releases. So I thought today would be a good opportunity to do, as I said, something I've been wanting to do for a while, and that is to explore Karazhan, which is a very interesting location that has a ton of history in the lore of the game. And today I basically just want to do kind of like an overview of Karazhan, where I just want to go look at it in the classic WoW version of the game, and then I want to swap over to the modern version of the game, and we can run through Karazhan when it was introduced into the game, and then we can kind of look at how it has changed over the years of World of Warcraft's life, where in the vanilla version of the game it is a landmark in the world of Azeroth that you can travel to, but there isn't too much content going on here, and it is in a zone known as Dead Wind Pass, which is a zone we passed through a little bit earlier in this Let's Play series, and there's not too much going on in this area. There's like 3 sub-regions here where we have like Deadman's Crossing, and then we'll get 2 more down here, and this is a level 55 zone, so we have to be a little bit careful as we run through here because of these enemies like the Sky Shadow right here. So maybe I'll die along the way, but I'm just gonna run past them all and just make my way towards Karazhan, where I think the entrance to Karazhan is actually kind of a safe place, so we'll be okay there. Where it is really, I'm so gonna die a few times on this trip actually, so this is gonna be a little bit embarrassing, but we can see what it's like to run back. Maybe I'll use this just to use it. But we can see that Karazhan is a very interesting location, not only because of like the lore in the game, but in the vanilla version of World of Warcraft, as I said, it is a place here in the world, but there's not too much content going on here, where in Naxxramas you rebuild Atish, the great staff of the Guardian, which is Medivh's staff, and Karazhan is of course Medivh's tower, where Atish, which is actually getting updated in the classic WoW version of the game, I believe, has a very special ability connected to it, where it will teleport the bearer to Karazhan, which is really interesting because Atish is a legendary staff that only a few people can get, and I guess in like the vanilla version of the game a lot of people could get, because the game is just around for a long time, but back in the day only a few people got Atish because of how Naxxramas was such a difficult like raid to complete, and how much time and effort it took in order to build Atish. And it's just a really cool staff that looks cool, but the special ability of it being able to teleport the caster to Karazhan is incredibly interesting, because Karazhan doesn't have a lot of content going on, so there's not really any reason for Atish to be able to send the caster to Karazhan, where basically my general understanding and kind of like the general idea was that Karazhan was going to be the next raid introduced in World of Warcraft in the classic vanilla version of the game, and it would be a raid introduced and like implemented after Naxxramas, so Naxxramas would like feed into Karazhan, but they decided not to do that because they wanted to go down the route of expansions, where Karazhan then serves as the first raid of the Burning Crusade expansion, where there are actually a few enemies around here: Unliving Residents level 59, Mana Sprite level 57, so I might come down here just to avoid them a little bit. And as you can see, there's not too much going on here, just some like enemies around here. But a very interesting thing about the Season of Discovery is how this might be implemented into the vanilla version of the game in some form, because there are hints that the Karazhan Crypts, which is a very interesting location that we can take a look at over here potentially, or I might come here in the modern version of the game just to take a quick peek at it, which I might do, or we can come up here, which is cool. But the Karazhan Crypts might be implemented into the game as like a 20-player raid that players can do, where they can fight like some undead and potentially some other things as well, where people have also been talking about maybe the potential for Karazhan to become like the full raid in the Burning Crusade, to be just implemented into the Season of Discovery, where they could have this be a new part of the Season of Discovery's progression, potentially after Naxxramas, like the original idea, where we can see some instance portals up here into Karazhan, which is very interesting since it is not an instance in the classic WoW version of the game, but it is in the Burning Crusade. So let's go over to that version, where I can fly into Deadwind Pass here, and we can see immediately it is a little bit different, where these creatures here are from like the Warlords of Draenor into the Legion expansion, but largely like the geography around here is the same, which I'll just take a moment to come around here, and you can see Morgan's plot, where we have the Forgotten Crypt, which I think has actually been used for like different pieces of content. Like I think like the Rogue Legendary Dagger quest chain and Cataclysm comes here, which is kind of relevant since Cataclysm Classic is going on. But Deadwind Pass has had like a few things changed about it over the years, where we have like this pet tamer right there. But largely I want to go ahead and go through the main entrance here, the Karazhan Gatehouse Portcullis, where we actually have up here, we have this side entrance that we saw, which is actually going to take us into the updated version of Karazhan that was updated in Warlords of Draenor into the Legion expansion, where they basically like revamped Karazhan, the raid, and turned it into a dungeon. So we can take a quick look at that, but I want to go all the way back to World of Warcraft's first expansion, the Burning Crusade, and just run through the raid as how it was in the Burning Crusade. Very, very interesting thing is we have Archmage Khadgar, who is here as a part of like the Warlords of Draenor into the Legion expansion, and he was actually a pivotal member or like person in Karazhan because he was Medivh's like primary student, and there's basically like a lot of story going on, but Khadgar has a lot of connection with Medivh and Karazhan, and he now has ATS, which we can see on the back there. But let's go ahead and open the Portcullis and go into the World of Warcraft, the Burning Crusade expansion, Karazhan, which this raid is one of the most popular raids in the history of World of Warcraft. And immediately at the start we have a very cool area because we have the gatehouse here, where we have Hastings, which if you want to read his dialogue here, you can go ahead and read that. But we can basically go off into 3 different directions immediately at the start here, which is going to take us down different paths. And I think I'll kind of just meander around and we can explore everything, where we have Berthold here, the doorman, and we can ask him about Medivh and whatnot. And there's just a lot of story going on here, where of course Karazhan is the Tower of Medivh, where we see a lot of story going on with him and basically the different people related to Medivh. Like we have this horseman here who worked for Medivh, and we have like all these people that lived in this tower and basically like lived under Medivh and whatnot. And we can go ahead and just deal with all their ghosts and everything going on here, where we have Midnight, which I have a very rare chance to get a very special mount drop here, which should be really cool, and I'm probably not going to get it, and I did not get it, but a lot of people come in here and fight the first boss because he drops a mount, which is really, really cool. But we can talk to Corn here, which is actually kind of useful for us because I could just go ahead and sell all this stuff off, I suppose. But continuing up the tower, I actually have a fond memory because there is a special boss up here during the Burning Crusade expansion into the Wrath King expansion, where it is a sand lane that you can fight, and you will get like a special achievement for fighting him, and you will get, oh, the blood drenched door right here. If we open it, this is the room that we could fight the sand lane in, but you would get the special achievement and you would get a special companion pet. But there is also a very special axe called the Arcanite Ripper, I believe, which is a reskin of the Arcanite Reaper, which is like a cool like skeletal axe skin, but the Ripper is also a guitar as well as an axe. So you can actually kind of play the Arcanite Ripper, and it makes like a little bit of music for a moment, and it's a very, very, very cool like weapon that a lot of people really like, and I was always like super fond of it from back in the day. And then when World of Warcraft Classic came around, I actually got the axe skin, and it's probably one of my fondest memories of the Classic experience. Actually, was just getting that axe skin because I remember having wanted it for so long. But if you have Moreau's here, he's a very popular character. Just one-shot him there, and we get a couple of items. And the vibes and the music and like the atmosphere and like all the characters and all the enemies around here are just phenomenal, and like a very, 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 very like good like implementation of like art and like all the different like aspects of game design that goes into a game and raid design that goes into a raid. Where I think I'm going to go ahead and go over here really quickly, where we can fight a boss that I usually actually forget about fighting a lot of the time. Where if we come into our adventure guide here, we can see Karazhan right here, where we have the Servants' Quarters, Atumen the Huntsman, and Moros, who are like the first 3 bosses of this raid, going off in like those 3 different areas. And then we continue down here, where this boss is actually kind of interesting, because if I come into here again, we can see the Servants' Quarters actually has like 3 different bosses that will randomly spawn, where I believe it is the bad boss this time. So let's go ahead and find the boss actually, which we need to do. So if we come around here, oh, there's spiders. Oh, is it actually 3 different bosses? I thought it was like 1 boss that's like always up, or like randomly up. This is just like the one part of the raid that I've never really explored in depth, where there's nothing in here. So let's go over this way. Some phase hounds in here, and then dread beast down here. Okay, so yeah, one of the 3 bosses is randomly selected to spawn every time the instance is opened, where I'm actually not sure how to find the boss. Where was it? Right there. Where I thought it would spawn when we killed everything in here, which maybe I'm missing something. I found this invisible guy right there. Is there going to be more invisible creatures around? I guess I have to like just walk around and find them. Oh, here's a boss. So I think that is the random boss that spawns. We have High Kiss the Lurker right there. So a rare boss that is one of 3 bosses that is randomly selected to spawn in this area. And I feel like maybe the other 2 spawn as well, but of course I'm pretty sure it is only the one. So let's go ahead and leave this spot, which is probably the one area in Karazhan, as I said, which I haven't spent too much time in. And I remember back in the day, I would run Karazhan over and over and over and over again, just exploring it all and like killing all the bosses and trying to get some cool items, where the final boss actually drops a really, really cool item that I like a lot. So maybe it'll drop for me, where of course I also try to get the mount, and over the years I have not gotten that mount. But now we are in the guest chambers, so we are just above like where Moros spawns, and we have this really interesting area where we have some interesting demon characters actually, where if we were to take some more time to fight these different hostesses and consorts around here, they would transform into demons. And it's kind of just like a funny storyline that fits a lot of the storytelling of the classic versions of World of Warcraft. But let's go ahead, run through here where we have the Maiden of Virtue, who is a Titan Keeper, which is very interesting. And I think she's like really confused or whatever from being in this area. And we can go ahead and defeat her. And let's go ahead and move this way, where this boss, not super interesting. Morals is kind of fun, and Atumen the Huntsman is also kind of fun, but we are about to go to one of the most popular bosses in all World of Warcraft, and it is a really, really fun event and experience. We're similar to the Servants' Quarters that we just did earlier, where there's like 1 of 3 random bosses. In this area, it is 1 of 3 random bosses, where this is the Opera Hall, which is a really cool area, and we can see that it just looks phenomenal with all these different like decorations and whatnot and all these people around here. But we are about to participate in a play, which is really cool, and it is 1 of 3 randomly selected plays that are parodies of like real life plays. So we have like a Romeo and Juliet parody, and we have like a Wizard of Oz parody, and I'm forgetting the other one. Oh, it's Red Riding Hood. But we can go ahead and come up here where we have the backstage area here with some Spectre performers. The show must go on, and we're just going to obliterate all of them because of course I'm in the modern WoW version of the game, so I'm just instantly one-shotting everything. And we have Barnes, the stage manager. I'm not an actor. Okay, I'll give it a try then. Splendid. I'm going to get the audience ready, break a leg, where we can walk through here and we can see the audience that we just obliterated, and we have this massive organ, and we got some music playing, and we have Barnes, the stage manager, coming through here, right here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this evening's presentation. Tonight, things are not what they seem. For tonight, your eyes may not be trusted. for instance, this quiet, elderly woman waiting for a visit from her granddaughter. Surely there is nothing to fear from this sweet, gray-haired old lady. But don't let me pull the wool over your eyes. See for yourself what lies beneath those covers. And now, on with the show!
So we have this grandmother right here that we can go ahead and run up to and talk. Hello, my child. Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have. The better to hear you with, child. Oh, grandmother, what big eyes you have. The better to see you with, my child. Oh, grandmother, what fat loots you have. And we see the big bad wolf right here.
The better to own you with.
And we just got transformed into a little gnome. And we can go ahead and in 13 seconds, because we are Little Red Riding Hood, we can go ahead and kill the big bad wolf once this debuff goes off of us. So I'm just going to spam this really quickly, and I got stunned right out of it, and one shot. There we go. The Opera Hall event completed, and we got Beast Maw Podrons, which is actually really cool looking Podrons. But that is the Opera Hall event completed, which is just a really fun event and experience, and like a really cool idea for like a raid fight. But let's go ahead and continue through here, where we have basically completed the lower sections of Karazhan now, and we are about to go into the upper areas where things become a little bit more serious, where it's been like super fun down here, but we are about to see some crazier things going on up here. So let's go ahead and just clear through this area. Up the stairs here and do a 180, and then we have to get over to the other side, which I think this might be a good time to mention that I've been working on a tabletop simulator game, which is not a really good game. Where, for anyone who doesn't know, tabletop simulator is like a board game simulator, so you can play like board games and people can make their own board games. So I did that once with Guild Wars 2 and made not a good board game, and I'm doing that again with World of Warcraft, and I'm making really not a good board game, if I'm being honest. And it's mostly just like a collection of puzzles with some like lore surrounding like World of Warcraft like kind of implemented into it, just like a few paragraphs that you can read, where one of the main focuses of that area is actually Karazhan, which, if you're interested in doing like some random puzzles that I put barely any effort into, if I'm being a little honest, and I don't even have like the answers to like the puzzles in the game, you can go ahead and check it out down in the description if you have a tabletop simulator. But out here is the Master's Terrace, which is a really interesting area because I believe there's a bonus boss that will spawn here, but only during like a certain quest or whatever, and it's like an ember worm, which is cool. And I'm just going to go ahead and go back into here, where I believe we need to climb up this tower here, and then we'll work our way over to the next big area. Another ghost there we can fight, and then we have the Master's Terrace again, but we're at another section where we can just go up this ramp here, a trapped soul again. And now we are in the next major area, where we can see an arcane watchman right here, and we have the menagerie, which this is honestly a really cool looking area, especially once we get in here a little bit. Where at the start we can see this massive statue right here, and we can continue through this way, where I just love the decorations of Karazhan so much. It's just a really gorgeous area. But now we have some more cool statues and some arcane anomalies that we can fight, and then we have the Curator, which we can go ahead and fight because this is one of the bosses of this raid. And I'll go ahead and try to clear the arcane anomaly really quickly. And we can go ahead and just one-shot him, and we got some Traveler's Log progress completed there. So let's go ahead, open this. We got an instant Arcane Sanctum security kit, which is actually really cool because I don't have this yet. So we just learned a Menagerie Custodian, and if we come into our collections and our pet journal, and if we type in that, we just got this boss as a companion pet, which is really cool. But let's go ahead and continue this way, where that was like the opening to this area, and now we have this room, which is the Guardian's Library, and I'll come into first person just to try to get a good view of this area, because we just have an area that is massive, and we can see the tower. It's kind of like becoming really weird, because if you remember from the outside, It was like a really small tower, but in the inside it is massive, and not everything is as it seems. And this is just a really gorgeous area. I think we're about to see some massive staircases around here in a moment, but we also got a few different characters around here that are different mage characters that we could chat with if we wanted to, because of course this area is incredibly magical. Ravian right there. And then we got some more areas right here where these mana feeders are like immune to a lot of my magical skills, which is kind of annoying. But let's go ahead, continue up here where we have some really cool paintings on the wall. And this is just yet another really well decorated area where the combination of the decorations, the vibes, the music, and how the bosses are actually decently fun for what they were back in the day. Karazhan is just super popular, and I love it a lot. But let's continue up here where I think we are close to 2 bosses that are like back to back up here in a moment. Mana warps, and they're exploding. Magical horrors with more mana warps. And we can see like all these stained glass windows that are shattered, and we can continue up like this really confusing mess of an area with these like massive staircases, and we have these massive bookshelves here where I believe over here, oh no, it's over here, let's go this way. Spell shade, another spell shade. Now we got some homunculuses, which is really cool to see, and we got some shadow pillagers as well, where right here we have a disconcerting bookshelf. So let's go ahead and interact with this, and we can see that we can walk behind the bookshelf, which is just really cool vibes. And we have entered the repository. Right down here we have a boss that we can go ahead and fight, which is Terrestrian Elhoof. So we just have a satyr boss here whose model has been updated, I think probably with like the Legion expansion or something. Let's go ahead.
You're just in time. Oh, great. The rituals are about to begin.
One shot him as he says multiple lines of dialogue. Breastplate of the light binder. Where did that go? Right there. And of course I'm wearing this guild tabard right there. So let's go ahead and click it again. Reset. Click it again. There we go. So we can see what that looks like. Kind of cool looking. But that was the first boss, and right over here is another boss that we can go ahead and fight. And we can come over here to see the private library door, where there is a really like big lore character in this room that serves as kind of like a random boss in this raid, and it is the Shade of Iran, who is a super powerful mage who was like an advisor to Stormwind, and he is the father and like primary teacher of Medivh. And we can go ahead and one shot him. Where he talks about how Medivh has gone mad, and we can go ahead and fill up my inventory even more. And let's go ahead and go through the private library door here again, where we only have a few bosses left into this area, where we can see specifically 3 bosses left, one of which is a really interesting boss fight that I think I might actually struggle with a little bit. But let's go ahead, continue up this way, where I believe we can then go around here, and we are about to enter yet another super cool area. Of course, there's always a ton of trash in World of Warcraft raids, just to add something to do in between boss fights and add a little bit more of a challenge, where I think with some raids oftentimes the trash is like more deadly and like stronger than some of the bosses, which is really interesting. But let's go ahead and fight some of the ethereals, which are interesting to see here because of course they are from another planet and they were introduced in the Burning Crusade expansion. But if we go up this staircase, I believe we will be able to fight a really interesting boss called Nether Sprite, which we can see walking around right there, where this is a dragonkin boss, and we have all these ethereals around here with some cool story going on. And we have this observatory area where you can see into like the twisted nether with the celestial watch, where this boss has some mechanics going on, but I believe we can just one-shot him. So let's go ahead and do that. And that's like every boss in this raid. They all have like some mechanics, but for the most part we just ignore them all. One shot there, and we have killed this boss, where we got another wing egg, which is actually really cool because I can get some reputation with an unrelated like reputation in the Burning Crusade. But let's go ahead, run out this way where we can see some really cool banners here. And this is just another really cool area and set piece. We can kind of see like the endless void right there off in the distance, which is very interesting looking. And I'll just continue down here where we have a few more ethereals. I guess I could just go ahead and use my Howling Blast on them and continue this way, where we can come down here and we have the Gamesman Hall door, where we have we have a vendor here that I can go ahead and chat with, which I actually might go ahead and do just to sell off some of the stuff in my inventory. A sealed tome right here that I can open, and we get the Legacy of the Mountain King. Break the seal of the book, granting you a chance to increase your armor and resistance to magic when struck in combat. The essence of this book is bound to Karazhan. Singed page. 1 page remains after breaking the seal on Legacy of the Mountain King, which we can see right there, which is a really cool fun detail that I actually don't really remember. So it's kind of cool that I just noticed that right there. But we have the Gamesman Hall, which this is a really fun event that I love a lot, but people really don't like this event because it's like a very like gimmicky and whatnot. But here we can see a chessboard, and we have chess pieces corresponding to each of the normal pieces in a chess. And we have one side that is the human side and one side that is the orc side, which this is kind of going back to Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2, where Medivh and Karazhan's Tower played a big part in Warcraft 1. But we have War Chief Blackhand right here, and on the other side, Keen Lane, who was friends with Medivh and of course was killed in Warcraft 1, partially because of Medivh's actions. Or I guess largely because of Medivh's actions. And here we have the Echo of Medivh. To pass beyond my hall, you must defeat me in a game of skill. Control your Keen when you're ready to begin. So let's go ahead, come over here to the Keen Lane side, perhaps, even though I'm an orc. And actually maybe I cannot. Maybe it is only the Horde side. So let's go here to War Chief Blackhand, and let's go ahead chat with him, and we can control him. And we are now controlling this chessboard, which I think we can only play this like normal chess. So I need to basically jump out a lot and kind of just move around a bunch. Can I only play as the grunts? Or okay, no, it takes like a few seconds in order to use this. But let's go ahead, move this forward here, and then let's go ahead, swap back over to War Chief Blackhand, and hopefully I can just one-shot Keen Lane. I think that's how this works. Or maybe I'll go with the Orc Warlock actually. So let's control this and then move this way perhaps. So we can kill this footman there. And then maybe I need to kill the Conjurer here. Poison Cloud there. And then use our Fireball against the Conjurer. Where I'm just trying to clear the board a little bit here. I just lost one of my grunts and another one of my grunts. That's not good. We can see the pieces that we have captured right there. And then over there we can see the pieces that Medivh has captured. And where my Orc Warlock is about to die, which is a little unfortunate. Let's go ahead. Maybe. Oh, I just lost the Orc Warlock. Okay, what's best? Should I move War Chief Blackhand perhaps? Or maybe the Daemon? Let's get in the Daemon really quickly. And then let's move him forward. Let's try to clear like these 3 enemies right here perhaps. The Water Elemental is doing numbers against us right now. And War Chief Blackhand just healed, so that's good at least. So things are looking a little rough right now, if I'm being honest. There, I just got healed, which is good. So I think the Necrolytes are pretty important for us. And we have his Keen piece right here. So let's go ahead, face this way, and maybe just try to start dealing a ton of damage towards him. And maybe we can get his health low enough to finish him off. We have the Water Elementals on either side and 1 or 2 Clerics left. So hopefully Keen Lane can't be healed by Medivh. And let's go ahead, just continue using our cleave right here. We also have, oh, okay. Let's move over here. We need to kill this cleric. Which the cleric is actually pretty like low health. So hopefully we will be able to get some damage done here. The other cleric just healed this cleric. Hopefully the necrolyte will heal me soon because I'm getting low on health. And I just died. But I guess I'm not out of the game yet. I am out of the game and the game just reset. So I just followed a random Reddit comment on what moves you should make in order to win the game solo. Because this was designed for like 10 players in mind. But let's go ahead. Oh no. Surely that's fine. Maybe I should fight the clerics first. Okay, that's one cleric dead, which is good for us. Let's move over here and try to kill the other cleric because he just healed Keen Lane. There's the second cleric dead. Maybe I'll kill this charger really quickly because it's just right on top of me. So there's only 3 of his pieces left, or 4 of his pieces, and we have a ton. So there's that charger dead. Let's move over here, next to Keen Lane, and then I can start facing him. And oh, there we go. And I think I can just DPS him down here, where I do have those other 2 units that are kind of doing stuff over there, and this charger right here. But I think we can kill Keen Lane before he kills our war chief over there. And I think we did it. Keen Lane defeated. The Echo Medivh defeated, and we have this dust-covered chest right here. It was really cool to see an Echo of Medivh right here as well. But we have completed the chest event successfully, so that Reddit comment there was actually kind of helpful for us, which is nice. But let's go ahead, continue up this way towards the final boss, where we can see some flesh beasts over here. And we are about to see something really, really cool actually, because we kind of like transition into a very interesting area where we have Medivh's chambers right here, and we can come into here and just fight a ton more flesh beasts, and we can see a bunch of different statues and pillows and some weird like chemical things going on there. And we have this door here where we have the main bed chamber here, which is really cool looking. And I really like this bed and how it looks, where you have to like climb up here and you have those like big pillows, and it's like on a second tier above like a bottom tier of a bed, which is really cool looking. But let's continue this way, where we are on the Master's Terrace again right here, and we can look down into Deadwind Pass, and we have a skeletal griffin flying there, which is actually a really cool detail. There's just a ton of nooks and crannies in this raid that add like a bunch of detail, and it's really, really fun. But let's continue going up this way, because we are going towards the top of the tower, where we can then come around here, and I believe it is right here. We can see this doorway, and we enter this area called Nether Space. And this is such a cool area with this transition here, where we are in like a different plane of existence or something right here that looks similar to Deadwind Pass. But we have Prince Malchezaar right here, a demon, a servant of the Burning Legion, who serves as the final boss of Karazhan, and he's kind of corrupted this place and is the main reason we are here. And we shall be his as I one-shot him.
I am a prince of the Azeroth. I am.
And we can loot him there, where we got the Nathrezim Mind Blade, which is cool looking. But the weapon that I am particularly interested in from getting from this boss, maybe someday, is if we come down here, we have, oh, this really cool looking bow right here, which is cool. But where is it? Right here, Gorehowl. The axe of Gromhellscream has sown terror across hundreds of battlefields. It is such a cool looking axe, and is one of the most like lore important weapons in the entire game. And I just really want this axe skin one day. I think it would be really, really cool looking. But that is Karazhan, where with the defeat of the Prince there, we have completed this entire raid, which I think I might just take a quick moment to run out really quickly, and we can just take a quick sneak peek at the Warlords of Draenor dungeon version of this raid, where I don't think I necessarily want to do it in full, but I kind of just want to get a quick glance at it. Or I'm actually not sure if there's a shortcut out of the raid. I know there's like the side entrance, but I think that's been kind of closed off. Maybe if I just die and then I can respawn at the entrance, that would probably be fast. This area seems like a good opportunity, so let's just go ahead, drop down there, all the way down, and release our spirit. And we are at the Broken Stair, which is the halfway point of this raid. I was not expecting to spawn there. So let's go ahead, we want to go back this way, I think, where this is the side entrance right here, but it is locked, except we can open it, and we can run through here, and we can exit out into the Eastern Kingdoms. And we are at the side entrance here, which is actually very beneficial for us, because let's go ahead and run through it and into the dungeon. So that feels like a little janky, but we have World of Warcraft Legion here. So a dungeon from the Legion expansion, where this is kind of like a similar story to my understanding, where there's like a demon at the end that we could fight, and then there's just a bunch of random fun things related to Karazhan that we can do along the way. And we start here where we have Archmage Khadgar. He's just going to talk to us, and we can see that the vibes are pretty similar, but definitely a little bit different here, where I think I'll go ahead and just run it this way, and we'll ignore Khadgar there, where I do have to put in a little bit of effort to kill these enemies, and we aren't just one-shotting them all. But if I come into our adventure guide here, we can see we have the Opera Hall event, where we have a Wicket, where we have like these 3 different characters right here, and then we have the Westfall story, where we have like a Murloc and a Defias to fall in love, and then we have the Beautiful Beast, which we can see right here, which is really cool, and you can kind of guess what that is hinting to. But then we have the Maiden of Virtue again, and then we have Atumen the Huntsman again, and then Moros the Curator, and then Shade of Medivh, which is really cool that we can just fight him, and then the Mana Devourer, and then the final boss, Vizadum the Watcher. Where the updated version of Karazhan is actually a part of a really cool secret that I made a short video about a few months ago, related to Jennifer, who you might have seen running around with me at some point in this video. And it is a really cool secret that I loved exploring and like kind of figuring out, and like reading what other people did and whatnot. So I have some special memories of doing that here in this version of Karazhan. But a really annoying part about this version of Karazhan is how the opera event here is actually actually really buggy, where it will often like completely stall, especially during the Westfall story version of this. So let's go ahead and talk to Barnes. I'm not an actor. Okay, I'll give it a try then. Splendid. I'm going to get the audience ready. Break a leg, where we have the Monkey King right here, where he just killed Barnes. Which I have no idea what's going on.
You think you know? That evil crone, she's not the worst. Another witch was nasty first. Me Duker locked up all us hoes. Another path she should have chosen. So sit and slur, relax a gibbet, enjoy the show that we call Wicked!
I think this is the one that I have not done yet, so this is kind of fun. So the Hosen just ran away there. We can see this evil witch up there.
Come down from there. You're fluttering about like one of those horrible monkey creatures. We all deserve a chance to fly. Hey, do you really think the wizard will degreenify me? Of course, dear. Know that old frog of yours. Oh, look. Some new friends have come to pay us a visit. I don't have any friends. Well, apart from you, Galindra. If you're my friend, you'll make the Hosen get rid of these interlopers. Then we're off to see the wizard.
So let's go ahead, fight them, and hopefully I don't bug this out too much, even though I might just stop after this point.
You deserve a chance to fly.
Go ahead, just DPS them down there, and it looks like we completed the Opera Hall event, which is cool. And you can see the Hosen are leaving their cages because we freed them, and they have like some interesting wings here, which is cool. And we have Figaro right there. But we can go ahead and continue this way, where maybe I'll go ahead and just do one more thing, really quickly, because of course we have Ataman the Huntsman here. We're back here, we have like all the different characters from the original ones, where we can see the big bad wolf and the grandmother there, and then we have the Wizard of Oz characters, and then we have Romulo and Julianne, which we can chat with each of them, and it's kind of interesting. Oh come on, I don't do that anymore. Sigh, here goes.
Run away, little girl. Run away.
Very fun. But let's continue this way. Some backup sceners, the Medivas, which is a really funny band name, or group name rather. And it's kind of fun to just see an updated version of the Opera Hall event, and like this entire area being a little bit updated as well, which is fun. Continuing down here, we have Morels, of course. And continue over this way. But as I was saying earlier, Ataman the Huntsman in the Burning Crusade version of this raid drops a special mount, and in the Legion dungeon version of this raid, we can see that he drops a different mount, an updated version, which is really cool. Let's go ahead, just DPS him down as Midnight is charging around there, and then we can go ahead and kill Midnight, and then let's see if we get the drop, which I don't believe we did, so that is that. But of course we could continue running through this dungeon, and largely it's kind of like the same thing as the raid version in the Burning Crusade, just slightly updated with like different bosses, and it's a bit shorter I believe, but still kind of a cool experience. But I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and call my adventures here in Karazhan good, and let's go ahead and swap back over to the classic WoW version of the game for just a moment. But I always love a good run through of Karazhan, and it's always nice to kind of just see this area and the vibes, and it was kind of just like a chaotic run through of Karazhan, kind of just exploring it and experiencing the vibes and kind of understanding a little bit of what makes this raid so special. So I hope you all enjoyed that. But I think I'm going to go ahead and Hearthstone or Astral Recall back to Orgrimmar, where I want to do one more thing at the end of this episode really quickly. We're at the time of recording and releasing of this episode, and hopefully at the time of releasing this episode, the Midsummer Fire Festival is currently going on in World of Warcraft, which I actually don't fully remember where exactly it is. There's a Dwarf of Many Talents here. Oh, this is for dual specialization. Okay. But I believe in Orgrimmar it takes place in the Valley of Wisdom, so let's just run over there really quickly, where the Midsummer Fire Festival is one of the main festival events in World of Warcraft that you can participate in when it comes up, which tends to be at like the end of June and the beginning of July, and it's a decently fun festival with nothing too special going on, and I kind of just want to take a quick moment to highlight it here, where basically the main part of this festival is how you can run to like each city in the world, and you can do like a fire dance at like the different like bonfires or whatever around each city. And we can see over here we have the Flame of Orgrimmar and the ribbon pole here. So let's just take a quick moment to interact with like all these things, where we have these fire eaters here, and we have this flame where we can light each flame around each city, or we can extinguish alliance flames, and we can basically, like in the Wrathlich King version of the game, you can get achievements, but you can get like some different rewards from doing different things. We're here, we can go ahead and dance around the ribbon pole, which I believe in like the future versions of the game you can do by yourself, but in classic WoW you need multiple people in order to do this, where there's like one person there maybe doing it, but if you do it you will get an experience buff, so you'll just level a little bit faster, which is cool. And then we have two of these NPCs right here. We have a light and dark places, where we can't touch the bonfires in certain dungeons, and we can get captured flames and burning blossoms, and then we can go to different places in Kalimdor and at the Eastern Kingdoms. And if we chat with this person here, we have a similar thing going on here, but we can go to like the cities and we can interact with like all these different people, where in future versions of the game we see this festival get updated a little bit here and there. Around like Burning Crusade they add like a special boss you can fight, and then they add like vendors where you can use those like flaming blossoms, I believe they were called, as currency. in order to get like some different like special like armor skins or like clothing skins really, and some different special unique rewards. And then there are a bunch of different achievements that you can get, and the big thing is kind of just running around the world and going to each of the bonfires around the world, and nothing much more than that. But I think with that, we have explored a little bit of the Midsummer Fire Festival, and we spent a ton of time exploring Karazhan, where this is a very interesting episode where there's a lot of like weird things going on in this episode. And as phase 4 of the Season of Discovery releases, we will get back to leveling. But this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time now, because Karazhan is just a really, really cool raid in World of Warcraft Classic. And I hope you all enjoyed running through it, and I hope you all enjoyed watching this episode. Where with that, I'm going to go ahead and call this episode good here, where I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves, and remember, as always, to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the world of Azeroth. Goodbye.